welcome to Marin Poets Live. I'm Neshama Franklin. I work at the Fairfax Library, and I love poetry. After this program airs on TV, it will appear on the Marin Free Library website as part of a digital archive, which also features biographies of the poets and links to our collection. For this month's program, we will feature Robin Leslie Jacobson. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you, Neshama.
Here
Very
we
glad
are.
to be here.
Good.
Thank you for having
have a
me.
Marin poem for us by any chance?
Of course.
Of course. Okay.
So this actually, I'm from the East Coast, and this actually links my East Coast roots with my life in Marin. And it's for my husband, who at the time was with his family back east. Elegy, Spring Equinox. After a long torrent, the sun peers red-rimmed between clouds like an eye that's brimmed over and over. Our 18th West Coast winter, I'm still wide-eyed at green and bloom, remembering New York, everything still gray-brown, remnants of snow. You sit vigil, your father about to breathe one last time, an overworked nurse drawing off bile to make his last hours less wretched. Just miles away, 80 springs earlier to the day, my mother was coming into the world, sun crossing the equator. Remember the last El Nino, our first wild child California winter, all our parents alive and safe back east? Day before the worst storm, that live oak overhanging our steep drive, wedge of roots exposed, how I'd said, that tree's not long for this world. Next night, the great oak hurtling downhill, crushing the landlord's fence, just missing his house. Shared drive slick with mud, how the two of you tried to cut a pass-through, as they do on forest footpaths, blocked by fallen sequoias. Everything liquid in the pickup's headlights, oak bark slippery with moss, how you'd kept going till the chainsaw shorted out, how the rain didn't stop for days then, trapping us on the hill, and how grateful we were for earthquake rations, crackers, split pea soup, wet wood smoking. Today, the sky clearing, I open windows to air things out. Now a waking bulb urges a shoot through earth, promising flowers. Now your father releases his last breath. Oh, this first day of spring, the light beginning to outlast the dark again, the dark going willingly.
What a love letter. That's to kind of existence. And that line, when they were all alive. I mean, that's not, it's, you know, but that's, many things went boing, boing, boing inside when I listened to those words. Also, a lot of lovely, slippery little wordplay in there, which I really appreciated.
Thank you.
Very lovely. And now what comes next?
This is an Ars Poetica, a poem that reflects what poetry is.
Thank you for explaining that.
What poetry is from the point of view of each poet. They're all different.
Yeah.
And it's also an extended metaphor. It's called When It Comes. Line yourself with blood to feed each falling egg. Everywhere you look, there is food, no matter how dry things get. Moss curls at meetings of stone, vines trail from every cracked brick. Deep as biology, that indiscriminate ache, go couple with anything if it will make a poem. Risk morning sickness at any hour. Crave. Bear down when it comes, in a storm, a dream, the breakdown lane. Pant, yowl, split, crown, deliver. though there are so many stillbirths, crib deaths, mounds of earth smoothed into blank pages.
Whoa, that is so visceral and so magnificent. I've never thought of the birth of poetry like that. And the one line that really sticks with me is, there's food no matter how dry it is. And that could work for our lives as well. So thank you.
So the next one is, I kind of mix it up with fact and fiction sometimes.
Yes.
So this is a little of that. And I like to make my poems as cinematic as possible, so you can, actually see them, also taste them, touch, smell, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband, who's a filmmaker, and my personal film history professor, is partially responsible for that. And the other part, sort of the last third of this poem, has to do with something an English professor of mine gave us. Her phrase was "fabulous realities." And our assignment was to witness and document the surprising moments of real life happening around us. And so the ending of this poem is one of those.
Yeah.
It's called Memento. Another midnight show at the Orpheum. The last shot fades and the credits begin to crawl, white words disappearing over the black edge like a waterfall. The way you taught me, I keep my seat through it all, to honor the gaffer, the best boy, the intern who's gone without sleep. It's one of the ways I remember you. I button my coat, last in the stream of shufflers out. In the car, no radio, just rubber revolving on road, and pairs of taillights, tired red eyes leading me home. TV on low, old movies murmur, like a mother weary of telling the same bedtime story night after night. I drift off, but stir when the voices stop. The monitor glows, steadfast in the dark room. This is when poems come to me now, the way the rescue cat does when I roll over, half waking, to take my journal from the nightstand. So trusting, these newborn words. They nuzzle my pen, curl up in the bend of my arm, their first breaths drawn in the wake of things. There's so much words can't bring back. In the foreign film I saw tonight, the newly dead each chose one memory to take with them to the next place. And our tortoiseshell Manx girl came back to me. The dawn I woke to find her birthing in the warm V of my thighs. How quiet it was, too dim for the white noise of morning traffic, just the sounds of her breathing and bearing down, licking clean those ragged wisps of new lives.
I want to know which movie it was. Can you tell me? Can you
Called
remember?
Afterlife and Correada. I can't remember the full name of the director.
I just wanted to know, because that's such an amazing image. And so the cat between your legs giving birth.
That's the real thing.
That's the real thing. That is the amazing thing that you pull from real life. And it's also such a beautiful segue from the birth poem before. So, whoo-hoo.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thanks.
What's next?
So this is sort of like the poetic version of flash fiction. That's all I have to say about it. It's called Daughter. Anorexia leaves you her cello, luminous, leaning in the corner by the piano. Things she made in school, a crackled bowl with silk cosmos fading, dried leaves between leaves of her diary, like skin. Anorexia leaves you to tend the mourners, one stumbling, distracted, over a folding chair by the deck door. Someone has moved the lucky bamboo, simple in its spiraling, to the kitchen counter, above a drawer of spoons curled safe as babies. No one remembers to put out coasters. There are casseroles everywhere and cake. Later you look through the white ribs of the louvers. The red maple sapling you planted today is still in shock. Lights out, you wait up.
Devastating to your life.
Well, I have...
And you don't have to answer, but I want to know.
It's not. It was a response to just the huge number of girls who have that problem and trying to get inside the mind of the mother.
Yeah.
And to do that with the second person, it kind of fades into the poem. You just forget that it's there.
Well, you got so deeply inside that I just thought this must have happened. But it's okay. I mean, that is the magic of the poem. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
I have some theater experience and some experience with Gestalt and dream work and so forth. So those things all contribute.
Yeah.
And also the cinematic thing.
Right.
Of,
very, very rich and beautiful and sad.
Yes.
Okay.
This next one is a type of poem inspired by an artwork. It's called Ekphrasis or Acrostic poetry. And here I took my inspiration from the title of the work and the scene. I imagine the lives of the two people in a painting by Toulouse-Lautrec, and it's called The Laundryman at the Brothel. He is bent with the weight of dirty sheets, washed so many times, they droop in his arms, the way those women upstairs go limp at the waist for any stranger with a purse. The henna'd madam above him, her own fat wallet open just enough to remove some rumpled franc notes, her heart long since closed for business. He murmurs, merci, merci, but thinks new shoes for his baptized children. He will not look at her painted face, its ruins showing through like pentimenti. His eyes go milky as wash water, the reek of bodies rising from those damp gray sheets. He watches his marriage bed linens in the same oak tub, the same odor, though more faint, muscled with the same stiff brush and hard soap. It will not leave his nose, this stain on his living and his life. He dreams it nightly, lying beside his chaste wife, her belly another new world, now flat, now round. They say you cannot fall over the edge. That is what they say.
Wow, you crawled into that painting. But I'm so intrigued by the concept of the chaste wife. And is it because it's the way she's lying right there?
She's not in the painting.
Ah.
The only two people who are in the painting are the laundryman and the madam.
Yes.
She's paying him and he's bent over.
No, I got that. It's just very, very intriguing and very rich.
So I was imagining his life.
Yes. And you certainly did. Fully.
Thank you.
With stain and all.
Yes.
Ekphrastic. What is that word?
It's from Ekphrasis. Ekphrasis is one of those Greek words. Yeah. And it describes a poem that takes his inspiration or describes a single artwork. And ekphrastic poetry is that's the adjectival version of that.
I've never heard it before.
I wrote this one when my dad was still alive, and he loved my writing. So I wrote this for him using wordplay, and the epigraph is for my father, who is losing the words. It's called Anagram. The clue is wordiness. The tabloids answer rowdiness. An old hand at storms, you've learned to weather it. You tease out wind roses. Words don't always fall into line, sometimes rowdy, in love with themselves, winded with long kisses, sound and fury. Wind like walking out of a close place, a damp dream, a rundown hotel, out into the actual air. Even city monoxide seems fresh without walls. You don't mind gusting along these streets like a sail on a too small boat. The world slips sideways into rain, flower stalls folding up like origami. Every few feet there are criers hawking umbrellas. They come in on the wind, never there till the first drop, and evaporate as the world slips back. Sleeves of cut roses, their days-old velvet grooved with rain. These forced blooms remind you of the real thing. Along your father's split rail fence, the tangle of red you've loved all your life. You watched him weather it, curses bursting forth, trying to be heard above the storm. He was good at pruning, though, and this you loved to watch. In the hands of a good gardener, words may open like roses.
That's lovely. Were you? How close were you geographically when?
Across the country.
Oh, that must have been really hard, especially when.
Yeah, well, I was going back and forth a lot.
Yes.
At the time.
Yes.
And but this actually gave him for his 80th birthday, when he was still mostly with us together.
Yes. What a tribute. Lovely.
Thanks.
So now what? I want more.
Well, this is a hard one. With difficult subject matter, I often have to wait until a way in comes to me. And in this case, it was several things. It was the sonnet form, which was helpful as a sort of container for the subject. It gave me some way of managing it. And then there were these images created by ancient Chinese and Japanese artists. And finally, and this is what really brought me to this poem, journalist Robin Morgan in Ms. Magazine wrote, as part of a journal she was making for 9/11, who could have imagined it? The birds were burning. So this is called Wings. Long before we dreamed up human wings, old scholar painters caught the falling leaf and held the crane aloft and sung and sang, loving the whole cycle, tender, brief, beauty visible only in its passing. Now torn steel curls like shreds of bird's nest in twin oaks split to their roots by lightning. The thousand sparrows, thrushes, oh, those deft creatures meant for the ecstasy of wind, flying on fire, invisible as they fell. We were looking elsewhere, singed with the sight of our own kind. Terrible beauty, birds burning in the sun, our brothers as they dove from the windows, our sisters.
Oh, hard.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love that line that she wrote, who could have imagined it, the birds were burning. It just was such an inspiration.
Yes, yeah, that's the transmission of poetry and how beautifully that works.
Yeah. And this is just using couplets that are sort of semi-related to create a scene that's not quite linear.
Yeah.
October heat wave, remembering August. A different kind of time, the movement of things, soapy water descending her body the way a river pulls soil from its banks. All morning, the electric man clears laurel branches from the high-tension wires, oil of bay leaf in her mouth. Dog days, she skirts the San Anselmo storefronts, hoarding their slivers of noon shade. She asks her husband, "Do you know if deer speak?" Next night, a lost fawn bleats and bleats, throat like a rusted bed spring. Window cracked for air. In an old language, the sound of her coming like the clamor of a trapped thing working its way free.
Wow. This she is...
She is a mixture of who knows what. It's just
Right. I had no idea that deer made noise. Of course they do. They have throats.
Yeah, they have throats, and I think that they don't use them that much to make noise. But we had gone out there, and you're not supposed to really interact with them much. But we called the wildlife people. They said they would come over. They take them and they put them back into the wild. Somewhere else.
Yes.
But, lost the mother and was just crying, and I sat down on the grass next to it, not right next to it, but a few feet away, and started singing very softly to it. And it settled down and went to sleep.
Beautiful. That's an addendum of poetry. Addendum.
Right.
You have a short one to take us out?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
This is this is a change up.
Okay.
It's based on William Carlos Williams's wonderful poem, apologizing for eating all the plums in the refrigerator. Yes. And it starts with the same first line, but goes to a very different place. So with apologies to his spirit, this is called Welcome Home. This is just to say, the cat threw up on your side of the bed again in the middle of the night. His retching woke me, but not enough to get me out of bed to clean it up. I had to leave early this morning to get to my meeting on time, so I left it there, hardening, grass and half-chewed kibbles, and wanted you to know before you went into the room. Forgive me. It was so late and so cold, and I was so sleepy. And then it was so early, and I was so late. Don't read anything into it.
I just love that. What you can do with poetry? Well, I mean, the grist for the mill is amazing, and
I am not really sure. Well, I mean, there's some truth in it. I mean, it's because cats throw up and all, but it wasn't a truth-telling thing. It was just using that poem to get into the
on a certain level, it's about as truth-telling as you get.
Yes.
You know, that our beloved creatures, they do throw up, and you don't want your beloved partner to encounter it.
Yes.
And it's the grace note. I mean, it's a grace note with vomit in it. I mean, just amazing. It's been a great pleasure to be with you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm honored.
Okay. Thank you, Robin.